Can you think of an analogy in the business world or anywhere in life for the index fund and for the way that Vanguard approaches business? For somebody who's watching this and is very new to finance, is there a food business, or is there a leader, or is there a concept inside or outside of business that you think is a nice analogy for Vanguard and the index fund?
I don't think there really is. And the reason is that capitalism is about creating capital for the capitalist, if that's not too many capitals in one sentence, and not creating, they know they have to provide value. Adam Smith, 1776. The sole role of the producer is to serve the consumer. And in this business, it's dollars and cents. The more one gets, the less the other gets. And in an innovative company, you can create more and more value. You can reduce prices, but you're always making money yourself. That's what capitalism is, the incentive to get rich, if you will. And, I'm doing fine, but I don't own Vanguard. I've never owned a share of Vanguard. But I've been paid a nice salary, and a decent salary and nice bonus when I was running the place. So I'm not complaining, but I just don't have and never will have the kind of wealth that most people in this business have gotten, because they charge their investors too much for what they're worth.
Can you really make it very clear what the mutual structure is for Vanguard? Just for somebody who doesn't understand it, is this a not-for-profit? Is it is it a collective? How's it set up?
Yeah, well, first let me contrast it with the typical mutual fund system. And the typical mutual fund system is an entrepreneur of some kind back at the beginning creates a company that forms mutual funds. And that company runs the mutual funds and gets paid for it. And that's the way any company starts. Nothing the matter with that. That is conventional. The difference in the mutual fund industry is when that little baby that needs all that parental care grows up, he doesn't need the care anymore. But some of these funds are 100 years old, almost 100 years old, and they still have that parent watching over them and taking money away. That's too long. The child matures, the child grows up, the child goes off on its own, and Vanguard's contribution is essentially recognizing that and saying, okay, you own the company. The incentives are all gone. You can do that pretty easily.
And again, who is you that owns the company?
You is the shareholders of our mutual funds.
You buy a mutual fund and you are essentially a shareholder, an owner of Vanguard.
Yeah, just to give you each step, here's your fund. It's run by Vanguard, and you own Vanguard. And Vanguard also runs a whole bunch of other funds, and we allocate the cost among those funds. There are now probably 165 of them. So the costs are allocated depending on the fund's own cost, depending on competition, depending on fairness, things like that. So some judgment involved. But we still run this place for, give or take 12 basis points, 12/100%. And the average mutual fund specifically runs straight average, not weighted, about 112. So we save you 1% a year.
90%.
Yeah.
90% plus lower.
Right.
And what does that amount to over long periods of time? Because I think the average person who's maybe sitting down with their accountant sees, well, it's 1.12% or it's 0.12%. That's nothing. That's not going to be a game changer for me in my investment career. I might as well pick this one that I believe in most, even if it's 1 percentage point higher in fees. But what's the consequence of that if those two funds perform the same over 25 or 50 years?
Well, the consequence of that is that the one that's indexed, a dollar will produce about $30 at 7%. And the one that's not indexed, and you're paying 2%, a dollar we created about $10 at 5%. That's the 7 minus the 2. So that means that you put up 100% of the capital, you've taken 100% of the risk, and you've gotten 33% of the return. And Tom, if that sounds good to you, I've got a bridge I want to sell you.
You got some real estate. And that can not, it's not a big extrapolation to say that can cost an individual who's regularly saving hundreds of thousands of dollars over their lifetime.
Yeah, they would probably pick a number I used, I think, in the Financial Analyst Journal, just taking this through to its conclusion, that a typical retiring investor putting in a certain amount a month and growing with salary and all would have maybe $450,000 at the 5% level in his retirement plan, and maybe $650,000 in the indexed plan. That's just the math. It is inarguable. There's no way around it. I call it, after Justice Brandeis, the relentless rules of humble arithmetic.